continue with the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad-Geeta, and we are now, I think, on chapter 10, verse 24. Purodhasam cha mukhyam mam vidhi partha brihaspatim senani nam aham skandah sarasam asmi sagarah. So Krishna says of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, the Brihaspati, the Lord of devotion. Of generals, I am Skanda, the Lord of war, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean. I think I've covered this last time, but Brihaspati is the guru of the Devas. The Devtas are, their guru is Brihaspati. Skanda is Kartikeya, who is born from the third eye of Shiva and who's nurtured by the Kritikas, the 6 Kritikas, which is why he's known as Kartikeya. And Krishna says that of all bodies of water, I am the ocean. Maharishinam Bhriguraham Giram Asmi Ekam Aksharam Yagnanam Japo Yagnosmi Stavaranam Himalaya. So last time I explained to you the story of Bhrigu, how Bhrigu became one of the greatest devotees of Lord Krishna, Vishnu. And in fact, Vishnu carries the imprint of Bhrigu's foot on his chest. And he says, of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. And I explained that creation started with Om and it was corrupted to Aham. And if you can convert that Aham back to Om, you will find salvation. And he says, of sacrifices, I am the chantings of the holy name. So this is very important, that in the Brihad Naradiya Puran, later it is mentioned, that Harer Nam Harer Nam Eva Kevalam Kalau Nasteva 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 Gatiranyata. In Kali Yuga, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way other than chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name. And in the Kali Santaranopan, there's no other way in Kali Yuga other than by chanting the holy name, no other means of deliverance. And in the Kali Santarana Upanishad, it is mentioned, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Iti Shodha Shakam Nam Kali Kalmashu Nashanam. Nata Paratarupaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. So, it is pointed out in the Kali Santarana Upanishad, for the age of Kali, one must chant the Maha Mantra for this age. And of immovable things, Krishna says, Stavaranam Himalaya. So he says, of immovable things, he is the Himalayas. Ashwattanam, Ashwatta Sarva Vrikshanam, Devarishinam cha Naradaha, Gandharvanam Chitrarata, Siddhanam Kapilo Muni. So Ashwattanam, Ashwatta is the holy fig tree. It's also known by the Latin name of Ficus religiosa. It is the sacred fig tree which is worshipped, and it is also the same Ashwatha tree which is described in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita in an allegory which points out that this creation is nothing but the fig tree upside down, with its roots in the air and branches and leaves pointing downwards. He says, of singers, I am Chitraratha. He is he is the chief of all the musicians and singers performing in the court of Indra. Narada is the mind-born son of none other than Brahma. And he is, in fact, the one greatest devotee of the universe who moves around chanting Krishna's glories wherever he goes. Uchchai Shravasam Ashwanam Vidhi Mam Amruta Bhavan Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Cha Naradipam. So, during the Samudra Manthan that took place, when both the Devas and the Asuras, they churned the ocean, supposed to be also an allegory for churning the mind. And it produced many wonderful things. So it produced the horse known as Uchchai Shrava. Also, Amrit came along with him. And among all elephants, from this churning of the ocean came Airavata. And among men, he says, I am the monarch. Now, this is important to remember because the monarch or the king is described in the scripture as one who is the monarch by the grace of God. And therefore, he is considered to be the representative of God. Ayuddhanam aham vajram dhenunam asmi kamadhuk prajanas chasmit kandarpah sarpanam asmi vasukah. So of all weapons, he says, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, he is the cow Surabhi, which is the fulfiller of all wishes, giving abundant milk. Of procreators, he is Kandarpa, the god of love. And among the serpents, there is Vasuki. So you have in Vasuki becomes a serpent who is wrapped around the mountain, Mandara, in churning the great ocean from where all this Uchchaishrava, Airavata, and all emerge. And he says, Anantas Chashmi Naganam Varuno Yadasamaham Pitranam Aryama Chasmi Yama Samyamatam Aham. So of the hooded Naga snakes, he says, I am the Ananta. So Nagas are shape-shifting hooded snakes. So they can take human form also. And Ananta Shesha is the snake that is the eternal rest of Vishnu on the ocean of milk. And among aquatic deities, he says, I am Varuna, the god of the ocean. And of departed ancestors, I am Aryama. Aryama is one of the Adityas who is in charge of social justice. So he lays down the social justice laws and is the arbiter of social justice. Therefore, he is Aryama. And among dispensers of the law, I am Yamaraj, the Lord of Death. So Yama is, in fact, one of the most powerful of the gods. He is the first living being to die and thereby become the Lord of Death. So he is the person who dispenses justice when you leave the body based upon your actions and activities and words and thoughts within this world. And he also is the source of taking sinful souls through the various hells that exist. So Krishna says that he is Yama, Lord of Death. In text 30s, he says, Prahladaschashmi daityanam kalayatam aham mriganam cha mrigendroham vainatiyascha pakshinam. Among the daityas, so you have the asuras, you have daityas, and you have the danavas. These are all technically enemies of the devtas. And he says, among them, I am the devoted Prahlad. So Prahlad is most famous devotee of the Lord, who, while seated on his father's lap, while his father was boasting, so and so enemy I have killed yesterday, this enemy I have killed today, this enemy I shall kill tomorrow. Prahlad tells him, my dear father, there are no enemies within this world. The only enemy you have is your own uncontrolled mind. And because he is a worshipper of Vishnu, because he heard Narad Muni describing and praising Vishnu while he was in his mother's womb, taking shelter with Narad, he is a pure devotee of Vishnu. And so angry does he become, the father, Hiranyakashipu, because his brother Hiranyaksha was killed by Vishnu, that he tries all means to kill the devoted Prahlad. And Prahlad tolerates all these sufferings that are inflicted upon him by his father with only one thought in mind, Vishnu, Krishna. And ultimately, when he is about to kill Prahlad, because he cannot be killed by any other means, Narsingadev comes from a pillar and he destroys Prahlad's father. So he says, among all devouring subduers, I am time. Because time indeed subdues everyone, all of us. Among the beasts, I am the lion. And I am among the birds, I am Garuda. So Garuda, the greatest, he is the Vahan of Lord Vishnu. And in text 31, Krishna says, Pavanah pavatam asmi, Rama shastram bhritamaham, Jasanam makaraschasmi, Shrotasam aham janavi. So Krishna declares that of all purifiers, I am the wind. Of all wielders of weapons, I am Ram. Indeed, he is Lord Ram. Of all fishes, he says, I am the shark. Sometimes it's translated as the crocodile. And of the flowing rivers, he says, I am the Ganges. Very powerful means or anchors to remember Krishna. Hey Gange also means Hey Krishna for many devotees. Sarganam adirantascha madhyam chaivaham Arjuna adhyatma vidyanam vada pravadatam aham. Of all creations, I am the beginning, I am the middle, I am the end, O Arjuna. Of all sciences, I am the true spiritual science of the self, Adhyatma Vidya. You see, it's important to understand that in English, we have many words. We have philosophy, we have ethics, we have morals, we have religion, we have spirituality, we have psychology. But in Sanskrit, in Vedic language, there is only one term, that which lies inside of you, which is called Adhyatma. That word Adhyatma includes all these other names and subjects. And indeed, Krishna says that he is the Vidya of Adhyatma. And he says, among people who are logicians, I am the supreme truth, conclusive truth. Aksharanam akaro asmi dvandva samasikyasya cha aham eva kshaya kalo dhataham vishwato mukhah. Of all letters, I am the letter A. And among compounds, I am the dual word. I am also inexhaustible time. Of creators, I am Brahma, whose manifold faces turn everywhere. Mrityu sarva haraschaham. I am all devouring death. Udbhavascha bhavishyatam. Kirti shrir vakcha narinam. Smritir medha dhritir shama. I am all devouring death. I am the generator of all things yet to be. Among women, he says, I am fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. So women should note that these are the qualities of Krishna, which you should try to cultivate within yourself. Fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. Brihad sama tatha samnam, Gayatri chanda samaham, Vasanam marga shirshosam, Amrutanam kusumakarah, Ritunam kusumakarah. Of all hymns, I am the Brihat Sama. So you have the Sama Ved, and in that Sama Ved, the most glorious of all songs or hymns is sung to Lord Indra. It is performed at the famous Soma Yagya ceremonies. And of poetry, he says, I am the Gayatri verse, sung daily by Brahmanas. Of months, he says, I am Marga Shirsho Aham, which is November, December. And of seasons, Krishna says, I am the flower-bearing spring. Dhyutanam chalayatam asmi, tejas tejasvinamaham, jayo asmi vyavyaso asmi, sattvam sattvatamaham. I am the gambling of cheats, and of the splendid I am splendor. I am victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong. So you should understand that gambling is condemned for anybody who has even an iota of spirituality within them. The Mahabharata has many examples of where gambling has led to the destruction of everything. You have, of course, the stories of Yudhishthir, addicted to gambling. And also the fact is that gambling was by Kshatriya, by the fake Kshatriya dharma that was prevalent in those days, a Kshatriya could never refuse anyone who challenges him to gamble. Anyone who challenges him to a fight or any woman who offers herself to him. So these negativities of Kshatriya Dharma became the downfall, especially the gambling, became the downfall of Yudhishthir. And the Mahabharata also contains the story of Nala and Damayanti, which is another famous example of how gambling destroyed the peace and happiness of a loving couple. And he says, I am of the splendid, I am splendor, I am the victory, I am adventure. He says, I am the essence of everything that is wonderful and strong. Vrishni Nam Vasudevasmi, Pandavanam Dhananjaya, Muninam Apyaham Vyasah, Kavinam Ushana Kavi. He says, of all descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudev. Among the Pandavas, he says, I am Arjuna. The famous Krishna Arjuna are often compared to being incarnations of Nara and Narayan, the famous sages, who are also incarnations of Bhagwan. He says, of all sages, I am Vyasa. So Vyasa means editor, but Vyasa here also stands for Krishna Dvaipanya Vyasa, who wrote the Mahabharata. And he is called Dvaipanya because he was born on an island. He is called Krishna because he is dark. And he is called Vyasa because he is an editor. And he says, among great thinkers, Kavinam, among the wise, among the thinkers, I am Ushana. Ushana is none other than Shukracharya. Shukracharya was a rival of Brihaspati. Brihaspati was favored because his father Angiras gave him better education than everybody else. So, Ushana or Shukracharya left and took his education, higher education elsewhere and became wiser and smarter and better. Or so he thought. And because Brihaspati became the guru of the Devtas, Shukracharya became guru of the Asuras, who are the enemies of the Devas. And in the course of time, he became an enemy of Vishnu. Amazing. Here Krishna is saying that Kavinam Ushana Kavi. He says, I am of among all great thinkers, among all the wise people, I am Shukracharya. But Shukracharya became an enemy of Vishnu because in the battle between the Devas and the Asuras, Shukracharya's mother, who was very powerful, created an invisible dome to cover the Asuras and prevent them from being killed by the Devas. So they came running to Krishna, to Vishnu. And Vishnu, Krishna then sent his Sudarshan Chakra. And that Sudarshan Chakra destroyed that invisible dome and incidentally destroyed also Shukracharya's mother. So he was extremely furious over this. And being furious about this, he did everything possible to take the side of the Asuras and to protect them. He performed great tapasya to get from Shiva the famous mantra for reviving the dead. And when he performed this austerity, Indra sent his daughter Jayanti to disturb him. But despite that, he performed the austerity and he got the gift of being able to revive, you got the mantra to revive people from the dead. And using this mantra, he gave a huge advantage to the Asuras because the Asuras battled with the Devas. As soon as they were killed, they would be revived by Shukracharya. And being revived by Shukracharya, they would rise and fight again. In fact, he was also the guru of, he was present when Vaman Dev came to ask for his boon, which was 3 steps of land. And he did everything possible to block him. One of the things he did was he tried to block the pouring of the water from the water pot of Vaman Dev. And realizing this, Vishnu put a small leaf to remove that obstacle. And that obstacle happened to be Shukracharya's eye. So Shukracharya is also one-eyed person, a one-eyed sage. And there are many stories about him, including the Kacha Devyani, where his daughter Devyani falls in love with Kacha. And Kacha is the son of Brihaspati, sent to learn this mantra for reviving the dead. And great efforts are taken, but he never reveals the mantra to Kacha. But then Kacha is killed, and every time he is revived by Pushana, by Shukracharya. And finally, what they do is that they kill Kacha, and the ashes they mix in the wine, and they get Shukracharya to drink that wine. So he tells his daughter that I cannot revive Kacha because he is in my abdomen. If I revive him and bring him to life, then I will be killed. So the only solution for this is that while he is inside the abdomen of Shukracharya, Kacha has to be taught by Shukracharya the mantra for reviving the dead. So that when he is revived, he kills Shukracharya. And when Shukracharya is revived, he realizes that he can use this mantra to revive the gods. But when Devyani, that is the daughter of Shukracharya, wants to marry him, he says, I can't marry you. I came to get this mantra and I'm going away. And so the daughter Devyani curses him that you will never be able to use this mantra which you have learned. But Kacha goes back to the Devas and he teaches them that mantra. So while he never uses it, the gods also learn the mantra so that they can revive their own people. And thus the balance is restored between the Asuras and the Devas. So there are many such stories about this. But he says, among great thinkers, I am Ushana or Shukracharya. Dando damayatam asmi nitirasmi jigisatam maunam chaivasma guyanam jnanam jnanavatam aham. Among punishments, he says, I am the rod of chastisement. In fact, Yamaraj carries this danda. And he says, of those who seek victory, I am morality. I am silence of all secret things. And of the wise, he says, I am wisdom. Yachapya sarva bhutanam bijam tam tad aham arjuna na tad asti vinayatsyan maya bhutam characharam. Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being, moving or unmoving that can exist without me. So everything has a cause, and that cause is the seed of manifestation, that is Krishna. In fact, in the 14th chapter, Krishna explains, Mad Yonir Mahad Brahma. So he is the seed of existence, which creates life, Purush with Prakriti. Nanto asti mama divyanam vibhutyanam parantapa eshat tuddeshata prokto vibhuter vistaro maya. He says, O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere fragment, a mere infinitesimal fragment, an indication of my infinite opulences. Indeed, Krishna is in everything. And yet, for those who want to remember him through his glorious creations, he describes as Vibhuti Yoga. And all those who recall Krishna by meditating upon his Vibhutis will attain moksha, parabhakti, and union with God. Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam shrimad urjitam evava tad tadeva gachatvam mama tejo ansha sambhavan. Know that all that is beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations, they spring from but a spark of my splendor. Athava bahunaitena kim jnatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam krichnam ekanshena sito jagat. But why do you need to know all these things that I have explained to you? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So with this, Krishna concludes the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. He gives you the Vibhuti Yoga by which you may constantly meditate on Krishna by remembering, reading, reciting, and remembering the Vibhutis described in this chapter. But in conclusion, he says, why do you need to know all this? Because indeed, know that with a single spark of myself, I sustain and support and pervade the entire universe. So with this, we conclude the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. If there are any questions, I will be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Shantanu for such a wonderful session. My first question is, many people today struggle with self-doubt. How can Krishna's message in chapter 10 about seeing divine within ourselves help boost their confidence?
People wrestle with self-doubt.
Yes, they struggle with self-doubt.
That's wonderful because the self is an illusion. You must constantly doubt the self. Indeed, we remember God so that we may forget the self. And by forgetfulness of self, by forgetting the self, you will transcend all suffering. So don't worry about self. Focus on God. That self which you are doubting, that self which you are worried about, is an illusion. Every moment we are changing our sense of self. It's an illusion that it is the same thing. So there are many, many selves throughout one's lifetime. Even in this moment, there are many selves that are within you. So self is an illusion, and self is a source of suffering. As you pointed out, self-doubt is one of the sources of suffering. So please chant Krishna's name, offer every action unto him. 9.27 Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tad kurushvam arpanam. Make everything an offering, a sacrificial offering to him. Always chant his names, remember his form, be absorbed in his activities. And through this process of absorption in God, you will forget self and all the sufferings of self, including self-doubt.
And my next question is, how does recognizing the divine in all change the way we look at our relationships, whether it's with our, with our family, with our
In
colleagues,
the
with
fourth chapter,
society?
Krishna points out, यज् ज्ञात्वा न पुनर्मोहम एवं यस्यसि पांडवा सर्वभूतानि अशेषाणि द्रक्ष्यस्यात्मनो मे. When you have learnt the truth, you will know that all beings, they lie within me, they're in me, and they're mine. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mahi pashyati. Tasyaham na pranashyami sa cha me na pranashyati. One who sees me in all things and all things in me, I am never lost to him, he is never lost to me. So when you interact with people within the world, you see not individuals, but you see God acting through them because God is in their hearts. And your actions are not done for any selfish reason, but they are done to honor and to love and to respect God. So as you forget self and as you act in an attitude of worship towards the Lord who is seated in every human heart, you will find great relief from worry, suffering of all sorts, and you will find that your actions become increasingly purified as you act in the world to please God.
Thank you so much, Shantanu for today's wonderful session. It was, really insightful to listen to you. And to all our viewers, do join us on next Thursday at 8 a.m. as we continue the rest of the chapters of the Bhagavad Gita.
So
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Om, Jai Shri Krishna, Hare Krishna.